On today's episode of the Views from Section 400 podcast, we have our first show in the post-football world. Still got winners and losers, a bunch of college basketball talk. Auburn finally lost, but got a big win against Vanderbilt. And we finish the show with a much-needed update on what is going on in the NBA. It's a packed show. See you soon.
816, turn me up.
And just like that, the boys are back. Matt, Jack, and Brian, Views from Section 400 here, the midweek show. Football season's over. Now we get into, not the dog days of summer just yet, but it's almost March. It's crazy. My team, the Eagles, just ended the season as Super Bowl champs, and I have March Madness less than a month away. Brian and Jack can turn their tide towards Auburn basketball as the Tigers are favorite to win it all. So as I get a championship, we'll see if they soon follow in my footsteps. Make sure you're checking out our college basketball bracketology. Brian and I are dialing it up. Check out our Bubble Watch because that is getting absolutely hectic week to week. So March Madness, a month away. Bracketology is weekly every Tuesday. Make sure you check it out over on our website, viewsfromsection400.com. Again, thank you, everybody, for a great football season. I had a blast. Jack and Brian maybe didn't, but
Wouldn't call it a blast.
No, definitely not.
I had a blast. We have some Eagles stuff, I guess. Check our socials. Big parade on Friday. Quick programming note. Now that football season is over, the Michael of the Week will be moved to our Sunday show to add a little extra flair to that. So it's not going anywhere. We didn't forget about it. Still have winners and losers today, but Mike of the Week will be on the Sunday show. But without further ado, we need to get into it. We need to jump into some college basketball. A little bit of NFL news. I know it's over, but the news is still there. We got an exciting show coming up. Make sure you stay tuned after a word from SeatGeek.
The calendar is flipped to 2025, and that means one thing. The sports action is heating up, and the best place to go to get tickets to playoff football, meaningful basketball games, and maybe some baseball soon is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Views from Section 400 podcast. Whether you're going to watch some Auburn Tigers play at Neville Arena, best team in college basketball, if you want to see the Birds probably choke in the playoffs at the Link, or maybe you want to buy some early spring training tickets for the spring, SeatGeek is the best place to go. Their one-of-a-kind platform makes finding the best deals easy. Use our code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's a free beer and maybe some crab fries, maybe a hot dog on us. It's a great deal. Use our code. SeatGeek, your best night ever is waiting.
As I mentioned, it's almost March Madness, so we might as well start out with some college basketball talk. Auburn had a tricky couple of days, including a loss over the weekend. Brian, you have the hat on, still remaining faithful.
Yeah, I'm still remaining faithful. They did, for the first time this season, not look historically great this week. And I kind of let that be known in my writing for the Auburn Wire. And guys, I am getting bullied on social media right now. I've never experienced this in my life. Like I got called a hack. I got called a clown. I got called a terrible writer. So to backtrack, we go to the Florida game. I said they got blown out in my headline, which they were favored by 9. They lost by 9 at home in Neville Arena. And it was double digits until they made a kind of a comeback at the end.
It was a blowout. It was not close.
Yeah, so I mean that wasn't, most people kind of understood it was a blowout, but I still got some pushback by a lot of Auburn faithful for that headline. Fast forward to Vanderbilt, and my headline was verbatim. I said Auburn struggles for second straight game, but gets by Vanderbilt. Final score. I have never seen so many angry Alabama residents in the comments of the Facebook Auburn Wire. First comment, I got called the hack. Second comment, I got called the clown. And then there were even more, just like, this is terrible. Why do you hate Auburn? Someone got mad at me for saying they were the number 2 team in the country when we have to go by the coaches poll because it's a USA Today publication, and they're number 2 in the coaches poll. but number one in the AP poll. And that comment got a bunch of it was really bad. And then I commented getting toasted in the comments with like the emoji, and someone just directly responds to me, "You are a clown and a terrible writer." And I was just like, "Wow, I have not experienced this before." But guys, Auburn, they don't look like the historically great team we saw. They still look good. They beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has beaten two top 10 teams at home this year, and Auburn was able to get by them. But they showed deficiencies. Like their rebounding was bad against Florida. Condon and Haupt combined for 19 rebounds. Their rebounding was bad against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had 7 more offensive rebounds than Auburn did. They had 8 more rebounds total. When Dylan Cardwell is not on the floor and Janai Broom has one ankle, this team has a rebounding problem. And they're still the best team in the country. Their struggle is most teams good, but they're struggling.
Brian, I think you getting heckled on your writing means that you finally made it. I think that means you're finally a sports writer if you have people on the other side not agreeing with you whenever you write something. I mean, congratulations is what's in order. But dude, there's no doubt about it that Auburn struggled in that game against Florida. I think we had a 10-point lead kind of early on, but after that point, we absolutely just lost that game, lost control of that game, lost control of the defense, dude. We couldn't play defense. Go back and watch that game. How many times we left a wide open 3-point shooter just without 5-10 feet or nobody within 5-10 feet of him. It was ridiculous how bad a defense we were playing. And you know what? When that happens the most, off of offensive rebounds. So you're right. We did not rebound well in that game. It was a huge issue. Everyone wants to say Florida was missing one of their best players, and that's supposedly something that was going to help them. You never know in these kinds of games. Sometimes less guys in the game not having to share the rock. I mean, not Condon. That's the big guy. Who was the guard that hit 7 threes on us?
Walter Clayton. He's so good.
Clayton. Yeah,
he's
not
gonna be
Condon.
a first team All SEC guy.
I didn't mean Condon. I meant Clayton. Whatever. That all sounds the same. But that dude hit 7 threes on us. He was wide open all day. We were double teaming people. They were getting open. It was a terrible game. And then you go to Vandy, and we did struggle a little bit. I don't think that as a full team we really struggled that much. We had individual players who struggled. We had Chad struggle. We had Pettiford didn't play all that well. Did play?
He had 9 points. I mean, for the most part, it was Denver and Chaney. Denver and Chaney combined for almost 50 points.
And that's what I wanted to bring up. It was Janai. Janai had 2 points in the first half or something like that. Between him and Chad, who are normally our leading scorers, not playing well, Chaney Johnson absolutely stepped up. And Denver Jones hit 5 threes. I mean, that's the good part about Auburn basketball. If individual guys are going to struggle, other guys can step up. But I wouldn't say that as a team we really struggled in that Vandy game.
The part where I say they struggled, they were up 15-0, and then they lost the next 30 minutes of the game until Chaney Johnson went nuclear and played some of his best basketball of the year, and Auburn played some of their best team defense of the year. But after 15-0, they went into the halftime locker room up by 2, and then early in the first half they were down. So for an extended stretch, they were not playing good basketball.
And I will agree with you there, just because I do remember when Chaney Johnson went on that incredible little stretch that we needed that.
They were down by 2.
Yeah, I remember thinking we absolutely needed that just dominant run by Chaney. So it's a fair point.
Yeah, to be fair, that run happened, I believe, right before the under-12 timeout. And then Byington had to use his timeout because he couldn't wait for the under-12 anymore. So it was really the last 10 minutes and the first 5 minutes, Auburn looked like their dominant selves. And everything in between was not great, besides Denver Jones.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to fall asleep against Alabama on Saturday.
No. We're having our guy Colin on the show, who, if you've been following viewsfromtexas400.com, he's had a bunch of college basketball content on there. Big Bama guy. And I would really not like to have our newest hire come on the show and roast me and Jack for 30 minutes about Bama beating Auburn.
I absolutely would love that 100% to happen. But, I mean, Why not let the Auburn guys go at it? That's some good stuff right there, back and forth. My only thing to say is, Brian, and I'll plug some baseball here. It's starting to show, and not as bad as the Phillies, but the Phillies started out as the best team in the league, and they slowed down at the end of the year. This is not the time for Auburn to start slowing down, and not the time to start looking bad. And I'm not saying it's the end of the year. They still have games to clean things up, but this is a tough stretch here. In the SEC, we've talked all year. It's the toughest conference by far. But they drop a game to Alabama this weekend, and I think there's some serious concerns heading into the end of the year and obviously March.
Yeah, I think the big difference is the Phillies like really fell off, and they did look like the best team for an
Right.
extended period, but Auburn hasn't really necessarily fallen off. They've just looked human. And there are ways that they can fix that really easily, especially all they got to do is Chad Baker Mazara and Jani Broom have to be healthy and have to be effective defensively. I don't think Jani Broom's healthy.
I don't think either of them are healthy. Chad after okay, I don't know if this is just a every game thing is going to happen or not, but Chad after every 5 minutes is laying on the ground, holding his head or something. And look, it's a physical game. These guys are getting bodied, taking elbows to the face. It's happening, but not against Alabama. But the game after or the game after, like, I think these guys need a little bit of rest.
Yeah.
And this would be the time to do it before we get into the end of the season.
Well, so after Bama, and if they lose at Bama, Bama will take over the lead in the SEC regular season. But after Bama, they get Arkansas at home, Georgia at home, and Ole Miss at home. And those are all going to be tough games, but they're easier games than the top half of the SEC. And I still believe Auburn will win the SEC because if you look at Bama, they have Auburn, they're at Missouri, then they get Kentucky, Mississippi State, they're at Tennessee, then they get Florida, and they're at Auburn. So this is a stretch or a start of a stretch for Bama where it's going to be really tough. If Auburn can just get by Bama, I think this would be the dagger for the regular season SEC title.
I can't go that far yet. There's still too many games to play.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't see if Auburn can prove that they're back to their dominant selves by going into Coleman and beating Alabama on the road. I don't see them losing until maybe at A&M.
I mean, that's what they're going to have to
the way
do.
to
They're
look
going to
at
have to go to Alabama and win the game, and maybe not win it decisively, but I think a win in itself will just be like, all right, Auburn's still Auburn. They're the team. But a loss will bring out the people, whether it's the right reaction or not, will bring out the people who are like, Auburn's frauds, and maybe they don't have it, and maybe there's starting to be a change of tide. Way to be on brand there with that. A change of tide in the Auburn season and not at the right time. So it's definitely a huge game for them. Probably the biggest game this year in terms of what's going on and how this game's kind of leading up of, I think you're being a little harsh, Brian, with the shakiness of that Vanderbilt game. I'm more on Jack's side with I think they still had full control of that game. But yeah, the loss at home is the biggest concern for me. They should not be dropping games like that. If they lost to Florida on the road, fine. And even if they lose to Alabama on the road here, that's fine. But it's going to start changing the tide, as I said, and people are going to start raising a lot more questions than maybe they did before. So definitely a big game this weekend. And the last thing you guys need is, like you said, is Colin coming on first appearance and already having the bragging rights.
Yeah, I don't think I really want them to win, and I think a win would just put them back as the undisputed best team in basketball. But if they go in there and they lose like 95-92 because Bama just can't miss from three, I still think that's a good result for Auburn.
Yeah, and I agree, but some people around the country are going to start raising the questions that I alluded to.
They got to make it to the second weekend this year. You just lock in and get to the second weekend.
Yeah, they really do, and that steam train could keep rolling if they do. But the first weekend, you got to get past the first weekend, and Auburn has struggled with that, as we know recently in the recent past. But the other team, and the reason why I guess maybe it's not as bad, is the number 2 team, Duke, went down this weekend, and they lost to Clemson. Was it on the road?
Yeah, it was in Clemson.
Was on the road, so maybe some you can't get too harsh, but the ACC is significantly less competitive, I think is fair to say, than the SEC is. So a big loss there for Duke. I think it's still Auburn, Duke as the two top teams in the country, but the standings and the rankings definitely shaken up a little bit here as the top two teams fall. We don't see that too often in one weekend.
Yeah, I think the key that you said there is the ACC is just so bad. Duke will be able to figure it out. They're favored by 3 touchdowns and a field goal today against Cal at home. It's,
Yeah.
that shouldn't happen in basketball in conference play, but gives them plenty of time to figure out what went wrong. I
Yeah, I
do
think
agree. It's
I
Duke
think
and Auburn.
10. Yeah, Duke and Auburn, and I think 10 of those points to your Cal is them just having to make the trip across country in the middle of the week.
Yeah, which is a whole argument in itself of conference realignment.
It really is.
We all know how Matt feels about those big travel days going cross country.
Dude, I mean, I think it's a real factor. Maybe not as much as it is in the pros, but for the college level, I definitely a bigger factor for these kids and everything they have going on. But I did want to talk about the Big East a little bit here. St. John's up to number 9 in the country. As we're recording, they are down 1 on the road at Villanova with 8 minutes to go. Nova's doing their classic choke job at the moment. Just let St. John's go on like a 9-0 run and probably will blow this game. If they blew games at home to Georgetown and they blew another really, really bad one at home. So I can definitely see a blown game here. But yeah, St. John's up to 9. And, this is Brian's preseason sleeper team to make a huge run in March.
Yeah, it was the only one to pick them in the Big East. And I just, I really like when Rick Pitino gets to like that third or fourth year at a new program, you see his teams just go crazy. And St. John's has been going, they haven't lost since their Big East opener against Creighton, and they lost by 1 point on the road. And they've done it shooting 29% from three as a team. So this team isn't shooting the ball well, and they're still winning in the Big East isn't great like it once was, but it's a good conference. It might be the third best conference in college basketball. But they're doing things that you would expect dominant teams to do. And I'm ready to put St. John's in that dominant discussion. And maybe if they lose to Villanova on the road, that's I might have to take them out of that. But
Well, they're on like a 13-0 run right now, and it's looking like they'll probably close this one out because Villanova cannot close games. But you're absolutely right, dude. St. John's it's the Rick Pitino effect. It's what he does at these programs, and now that he's back at the top level, I know Iona's still D1, but this is like, a power conference top level school, and we're seeing, a big change. They only have 3 losses this year, as you said. A Big East loss early in the conference play, and they've just been on a roll.
yeah, the thing I always point to with Rick Pitino teams, at least recently, the first year UConn won the title, Iona played with them for that first half of that first game. They might have been in the lead where it was tied, but they were like right there. The second year, St. John's almost beat UConn 3 times, and St. John's was not nearly as talented as that UConn team had all-time talent last year. And St. John's, they were
Yeah,
talented, but they weren't close to that. And now St. John's is kind of caught up. You see Kadari Richmond come over because Seton Hall couldn't pay him, and they beat UConn. They beat everyone else in the Big East. They have a chance to get to the Final Four.
they definitely do. And Rick Pitino, we know what he can do in March, so definitely the guy to lead them there. We make a funny joke. The Chiefs couldn't three-peat, but UConn, I think they're kind of turning it around at the right time, but still not enough talent to three-peat, in my opinion.
They got enough antics from Dan Hurley. He was chirping the Creighton crowd last night.
Well, you're always going to get that, and when he doesn't have the talent and the team to back it up, it's a really bad crash out from him.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good. I've grown to not be a big fan of Dan Hurley lately.
Yeah, I never was, but this is, I think the whole country's kind of seeing his true colors here, and chirping 18-year-old students in the crowd that you have 2 titles is not a great look, I don't think.
Yeah, he's done the 2 rings to the college crowd. He told a ref he was the best coach in the fucking sport, so give him some calls. It's like,
Yeah,
dude,
it hasn't been a great championship tour for Dan Hurley there in UConn. They're going to make the tournament, meaning making the tournament. They're going to have a chance to three-peat, but the Chiefs definitely had the better chance to do it. And if the Chiefs couldn't do it, the UConn definitely is probably not going to be able to do it.
we have them as an 8 seed in our bracketology. That could lead to a first round upset or a first round. Yeah, I guess would be an upset of a 9, but they might not get past the first weekend.
Yeah, and you put in here also, is Villanova dead? Most likely, if they beat St. John's, I think there's some revivance there. But again, they just let up a 13-0 load, now 15-0 run, and are down by 3 with 6 minutes. 14-0 run in the last 3 minutes. So they're more than likely to blow this game at home. Another bad loss for the Wildcats, and probably the nail in the coffin on their season.
Jack's about to explode. He hears the words blow and load like 5 times.
No, that's what you thought I was laughing at?
Yeah.
No, I was like, Matt was saying words I didn't even think were in the dictionary right there, dude.
Oh, that too. I
Well,
gotta
they
look up
are.
revivals.
You knew what I meant.
We did.
Oh, I knew what you meant. No, you made a good point too.
It's just, dude, I'm sitting here recording a podcast, watching this game crumble, 14-0 run in 3 minutes in front of my eyes as I'm trying to like take this serious, and it's like I can't get out of the matrix or the vortex of this team blowing leads in the second half at home. It's I don't know what to
Kyle
do. So
Neptune.
yeah, it's well, I don't. We're not getting into that guy. Pause.
Gone for his head for like 3 years and paused.
But yeah, no, it's a joke. It's a disgrace. I should really turn it off. We don't need to talk Villanova basketball other than they are dead, and their only way in is winning the Big East. Not going to happen. Brian, Jack, I know you have in here the Big 12. Who's going to win? I don't know. Is the Big 12 the second best conference here?
I keep wanting to say it is, and when I said the Big East was the third, I'm implying the Big 12 is the second, but like Arizona's making a surge, and then they lose to Kansas State. Iowa State's starting to lose games. Kansas has been Kansas, for lack of a metaphor, all year. It's just, I don't know. The Big 12's talented, but they're not the SEC, where the SEC has
No.
just shown anybody could beat anybody because they're good. I feel like the Big 12 is anybody could beat anybody because the inconsistent shooting of Caleb Love or Iowa State forgetting how to score.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to pick anybody but Houston, I think, in this game. I mean, we have them, I think, solid as a 1 seed, definitely a 2 seed,
We got them as the fifth overall seed, so they're
fifth.
right there.
So they're right on the cusp, and that could easily change with weeks left in the season. Um, it is top heavy. These top teams, they're going to have 5, maybe 6 bids out of this conference. I think that's probably all they're going to get, as Baylor's kind of fallen off a bit. Maybe BYU makes it, but I think the locks are Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Kansas, right? They're the locks out of this conference.
And I think that's more than the Big East has, though. So I think
Definitely is.
yeah. So I mean, I think for that reason alone, I think we got to give the title to the Big 12 here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the locks are St. John's, Creighton, Marquette, UConn. So it's 5-4 would be
And I
in
think
terms of locks.
I guess it's a stretch to say BYU's a lock, but they did just beat West Virginia on the road.
I don't have them as a lot. I mean, 7-6 in the conference, 16-8 overall. They could make it, but it's not a lock.
Yeah, they could
I
go on a
think
losing streak.
those 5 teams I said are definitely a lock to make it.
Yep, no, I agree.
UConn, Marquette, Creighton, St. John's. I think they're locks to get in, because after UConn, it's Villanova. By the way, Nova takes a 3-point lead. This is ridiculous. Yeah, Nova's not the lock, obviously, but yeah, my pick. To keep a long story short, I think it's crazy to pick anybody other than Houston to come out of this conference as the best team.
I agree.
Yeah, out of the Big
Jack,
12.
thoughts?
Out of the Big 12, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Brian asked who's coming out of the Big 12. I thought it would be a tougher question and maybe we'd be a little more opinionated, but it sounds like
Yeah.
Houston across the board.
I
Well,
think I wrote this question before Arizona lost to Kansas State last night.
Right. It's
and
yeah,
I
I guess
like
because then they both be 12-1 at the top. It would have been, I guess, looking at the standings, it would have been maybe a little more thing to look at. But Houston, I think, is just the clear cut best team. And Kansas could be. Kansas has the talent. They just don't put it all together.
Yeah, they have so much talent. It's insane that they aren't better than they are, especially with Hunter Dickinson being like 30 years old. He should be doing
30
what
years
Janai Broom
old.
is doing.
Yeah, that guy should be like an unstoppable force. And like he's been good, but just not at the level as like people thought like, oh my gosh, he's going to Kansas. They're gonna storm through and like be unstoppable, unbelievable. And he has been stoppable.
Yeah, I don't know, they've been in a weird spot because was it last year they were preseason number one?
Yeah.
And
And it was because he went to Kansas.
yeah, and then they just didn't do much. And then
I mean,
this
do you
year,
remember him at Michigan? Like
yeah,
people were scared of him going to Kansas.
he
People
was
were writing Kansas off as the team that's just automatically going to win it all. And it's crazy how they just really were stopped like that.
it's you're not used to seeing like a guy lose quickness over the span of a college career. But at Michigan, he was a good shot blocker. He was a good interior defender. And now I don't know if he's old, if he's injured, or if he doesn't care, but he doesn't play defense.
Can you call somebody old in
That's
college?
that's why
Like
I'm
in the
hesitant.
NBA guys could be 35, okay, they're old, but it's like, what is this guy, 23?
I
Yeah.
mean, some of these
That's
guys,
not
some of
old.
these guys are 25 though.
Chad's
Okay, like
25.
these guys are well under 30, apart from like the rare case of the guy who has eligibility when he's 32 and D2 or whatever rare cases that are so far and few between. But for Hunter Dickinson's sake, the guy's 23, 24 max.
Yeah, I'm
You
looking
know,
it up
I
right
don't
now.
I don't think we can be like, oh, this guy's old. He's lost a step. You don't lose a step at 23 years old.
Yeah, he's 24.
Okay, you don't lose a step at 24.
He looks like he has. That's why
I
I'm.
know, and that's why it's crazy. But yeah, to keep the Big 12 talk short, because the only team I think that'll be a threat is Houston to win it all. Some teams could go on a run, maybe an Elite Eight run. Iowa State could definitely make a Sweet 16 run here. You know, we'll see maybe some of that. But a threat to win it all, I think it's just Houston, and maybe Arizona, but Houston for sure. But yeah, that's all we got on some college basketball. You guys got anything else before we move on to a little bit of NFL talk? We said the season's over, but we have some stuff to get to.
Season's never over. I'm already
Never.
in draft mode.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Jack. As a Jaguars fan, you jump right to that. I have right on Monday morning, some of my Jet fans were locked and loaded on Jet football and ready for the new season. And they say how delusional Philly fans are, but go talk to a Jet fans or a Jet fan, and then get back to me about delusion.
Yeah, I don't know what Jet fans are doing in their la la land, but what I can tell you, and I thought about this a lot, but ever since maybe week 10 or 11, whenever it was that I really saw the Jags were just absolutely dead in the water, and
It took
yeah,
that long?
it may have been a little bit before that, but memory's a little hazy. Um, but before then, or once that happened, the season was over, and I was kind of done with football. Outside of rooting interest, bets, fantasy, the podcast, that kind of fun stuff.
Of
Uh,
course.
I was done with football. Now that the Super Bowl's over and like it's officially a new season, I'm bought back in. I cannot wait until draft day. I cannot wait until the next season starts. Man, I'm so excited for football again.
Yeah, I've been in the off season since week 4, so it's nothing new. but I
Yeah,
can't
Brian,
say I'm
how
too
how
excited.
how long did it take you to put the nail in the coffin on the Giants season? Jack to week 10 of the Jaguar season. Wow.
Well, I almost no, I think I did call them dead after they lost to Sam Darnold at home. But then they won a couple games and they got 3-2. And then Daniel Jones started looking like Daniel Jones. So I would say like week 6 was when I was really out.
When was that Commander game when like Malik Neighbors had 200 yards and they still lost? I think that was your like, and the kicker maybe blew it or something like that.
He, the kicker, I mean, he couldn't blew it because they had one kicker active and he got hurt, and then they couldn't kick extra
That's what it
points,
was.
so they
That's
had
what
to
it
go for
was.
two, and they never got the 2 point conversion.
Yeah, I think that was your
That was when
that
I
and
said, yeah, this is not a
this is
competent
gonna
football
be
team.
a dumpster fire for the rest of the year. But yeah, we can rag on Jack and Brian's team all we want here. They have some optimism, I guess, going into the draft. Jack definitely a lot more than Brian. I mean, Brian returns the same regime. Jack at least restarts with a new regime, so definitely some optimism there. But just some quick storylines to get to. I touched on it in the live, but Kellen Moore officially going to the Saints. I don't know what you guys think of that. It seems like a Saints-esque hire, Saints move. Sounds like he's going to hire Brandon Staley as the defensive coordinator. So little roles reversed from what they had in LA. What do you guys think of that?
I'm sure that'll work out great. The first thing I saw on this move was that Kellen Moore played Derek Carr in college and beat him 57-7. So I
Yes.
was like, how's that going to work? And now news came out today that Derek Carr might get bought out and released. So I don't know what the Saints are going to do.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah, or Jack, I'll let you go.
I mean, as far as the Derek Carr part goes, I don't know about all that, but I did see a lot about Brandon Staley. I just think that that's a weird move, being that this dude was your boss, just a few years ago, and now you're going to be his boss. I just think that's
Yeah.
maybe we've seen that happen in this league before. I don't think so. But just to keep it on Kellen Moore, I think, the Saints will be a good spot for him. This is his team to control. And, he's been a guy who's been tossed around head coaching jobs for the past few years. And it's good to see him finally land one, especially coming off of a ring, finish the business and gets to move on, start a new chapter. So he's living large, man.
Yeah, he definitely is, and we'll see. We'll see what he can do. An aging defense, no quarterback really. Chris Olave, an aging running back in Kamara. A lot of work there
A
for the
lot of
Saints
work.
to kind of get back on track and get back to winning ways. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Not
Now,
much.
now hear me out.
What do you
Oh
got?
no.
Jameis Winston. Get Derek Carr out of
In
town.
New Orleans,
Jameis Winston in New Orleans with Kellen Moore.
definitely would be a fun passing attack and fun for fantasy purposes.
Rashid
But
Shaheed would be fun to watch with Jameis
yeah,
Winston.
would they win games? I don't think so.
I think they would.
Division's
Jameis,
not great.
Jameis is my goat.
Jameis is fun to watch and like he puts up numbers, but he doesn't really win.
That's what happens when you turn the ball over. So
I know. And that's what I'm saying. Like he'll throw 300 yards, he'll throw the three TDs, but he'll turn the ball over three times a game. And that's why it's tough for him to win football games. But I think he'll get a job. Just don't know where it'll be. Another news headlines that kind of broke again. Jets somehow staying relevant on Super Bowl weekend, but for all the wrong reasons. Aaron Rodgers out. Is this a new head coaching decision? What's it? Aaron Glenn makes the new head coach and says, we're not dealing with Aaron Rodgers and his antics. Maybe he didn't say that. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers either going to retire or have to find a new home.
Allegedly, they told him in order for him to stay, he'd have to stop going on the Pat McAfee show. Everything that comes out of Jets camp is just more and more ridiculous.
It's ridiculous and never good.
Never good. But I think it's the right move to move on. Rodgers is not the quarterback he was.
No.
I think, yeah, look, I think Aaron Glenn came in here and made it very clear I'm the head coach. This is my football team. If you want to be our quarterback, you got to start playing by these rules. And for to single out the McAfee show, I don't think that would be specifically what the thing is. I think it's more the intention of no more shows in general, like
Right.
no more media,
This isn't a
outside of like
fairy tale celebrity like free for all.
right. We're not on like the real football players of the NFL. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, this ain't The Bachelor. Like you're here to play football, quarterback this team. I don't want you talking about players or plays or practices, anything about the organization or anything. I don't want you out there. I want you focused on football. That's probably what Aaron Glenn said. I think that's probably what I would say if I was a head coach having to go into a situation with a guy like Rodgers. And Rodgers obviously doesn't want to play by those rules. Fair, but you got to go find a new job. I think that's probably what we see here.
Yeah,
What
I
we saw.
definitely
What we
agree.
saw here.
I think lock in. The coach needs to, he's trying to win football games. He has a job to keep as well, and to have the celebrity free for all, whatever you want to call it, circus almost. They need to clean it up. I think they give a shot to your guy. What's it, Jordan Travis, the Florida State guy who got injured. We have no idea what he is. He had a lot of talent at Florida State, only 24 years old. Maybe they bring in a veteran backup like Jameis Winston. I think would be a better fit for the Jets. And see what you have in Jordan Travis.
I don't hate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, we'll see what Jets do. In the draft, free agency. I don't know what quarterbacks are going to be on the market. I mean, are they going to want to pick up a Derek Carr, for example? But
I think you bring in a veteran guy to compete, and you try to give Jordan Travis a legit shot.
yeah, I
I don't know
think.
why he wouldn't. The guy just sat behind Rodgers for a year. He had all the talent in the world in college. He should be healthy now.
Mhm.
Only 24 years old. Give him a shot and see what you have.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe grab a Derek Carr and a fifth round quarterback in the draft. That way, you have a pretty complete room and test all the options. I think you're kind of you're kind of hoping for the best as a Jets fan at this point.
Well,
Yeah,
what a disaster for Devontae Adams.
Well,
Where does he go from here?
he's gonna leave town too. I bet he'll try to go get packaged with Rodgers somewhere. No.
I,
it could be
I, I
Cancun.
think I think if I'm Devontae Adams, I'm giving up on the Rodgers train. He brought me to New York. Nothing happened, and now he's out of town, and Adams is stuck in New York. I don't
It
know that
was
I'm risking my last decent years of NFL football on following this 42-year-old borderline weirdo around anymore.
That's a very fair point. That's a very fair point. Shit.
Ryan, your thoughts before we move on, if you have any.
Well, I think Jack calling a quarterback room Jordan Travis a fifth round draft pick and Derek Carr complete is a little optimistic. Also, I don't know where Devontae Adams goes. He'll probably end up with the Giants for some reason.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. The guy probably has 1 to 2, probably 2 years left of high level football. Is that a fair statement, or is he gonna really take a step back this upcoming year, next year, whatever you want to call it?
I mean, I think we saw him take a small step back this past year, but
Did he though? He
He
kind of
was good
turned
when he
up.
played. The issue is like if he decides to hold out for 6 games, he could play for another 5 years because he's only playing half a season each year.
well, that's the thing. I think that we could see him be a T Higgins premier number two. I have trouble trusting him as a one who can do it by himself moving forward.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so, and we've definitely spent enough time on Jet football talk. But again, it's a New York team, and they'll have an interesting offseason with a very involved owner. So we'll see what they get, and pretty much a new regime there. Some notes I had here on just some stuff I saw. Jumping over to the college world, Ohio State going to hire Matt Patricia as their defensive quarterback. They had a successful stint with Chip Kelly. Now they try and bring in Matt Patricia on the defensive side and see what they have there.
Good luck.
Yeah, they got an interesting room over there now. That's for sure.
They really do. And obviously, we know Chip Kelly, the new Raider offensive coordinator. So he's out of the building. Maybe Matt Patricia gets another job in the NFL after maybe a successful stint with Ohio State. We'll see there. To wrap up some NFL talk, there was an interesting thing said by an NFL quarterback this week, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. Dak Prescott, in a quick interview, said the Cowboys are very close, is what he said, to winning a Super Bowl. Your guys' thoughts on that?
I am very close to winning the Powerball. It's not going to happen.
I am very close.
They're the third best team in that division. Sorry,
they
cut
are.
you off
And where? Yeah, Jack, what you got, and then I'll go.
No, it's cool. I was just going to go on to Brian and make a joke, and it's all good. It's all good. But no, Brian's absolutely right. They're the third best team, and it's really not comparable.
They definitely are. And it looks like, they're bringing in a head coach that might just be another puppet for Jerry Jones. Where his angle is, they've been competitive in the NFC East the last couple of years. They have on trend, been competitive with the Eagles and have beat the Eagles. So that's where he's angling it. But I think now, this was not the right time to say it.
No,
right after the Eagles win the Super Bowl is wild.
A year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this could have been an actual conversation. Fresh off an Eagles Super Bowl win, and the Cowboys, after what we saw them do this year, and I know he was hurt for most of it, Dak was, but still, right. The Cowboys were a joke this year. And I don't know where he has the cojones to say this. It just makes zero sense.
Yeah, I understand, being confident, and you have to, you're not going to say, well, we're going to suck, but there's probably a better way he could have maybe approached that question, or maybe just not have said it at all, especially at this time, say it hey, we just got in here for training camp and I like what we got this year. And I think we got a chance to do some great things in training camp, but 2 days after the Eagles win the Super Bowl to be I think we're close to winning the Super Bowl is a crazy thing to say. So, a lot of eyes will be on obviously Jerry Jones, the Cowboys, and Dak Prescott this offseason. And then obviously into the season, we'll see where they go there. But that's kind of all I had on the NFL. Brian or Jack, do you guys have anything else before we get into our staple segment of winners and losers?
Dak Prescott's just a weirdo.
And back now with the premiere segment up in section 400. It's the winners and losers of the week, where we go around and pick a winner of the week and go around and pick a loser of the week. Brian, if you will, start us out with your winner of the week.
I certainly will. Baseball is back, kind of back, but pitchers and catchers, most of them reported today as we're recording this, and I believe as this is releasing, almost all of the teams will have their pitchers and catchers be reported to spring training. But this is the best time of the year. You can't lose spring training. The optimism is sky high. We have Kodai Senga saying he's going to be healthy. It's the epitome of health. I think he said it 20 times in a 10-minute interview with reporters, just the word healthy. You have Mark Vientos showing up to camp saying he's the most hungry player that has ever been playing baseball. Juan Soto's there. This is just the time of optimism for a baseball fan, and I'm following all the Mets stories. I'm watching, looking at all the pictures of the first day of school chalkboards where they have all the players give their favorite food, favorite player growing up. I love the spring training content. I probably won't make it down there this year, unfortunately, but I love going to the games. There's nothing like spring training. There's nothing like baseball season. And I just can't wait to see Juan Soto and the New York Mets go try to win a World Series.
Said very well until the last part. I agree. Baseball season is somewhat here. We're starting to get the clips, like you said. The optimism is high. Probably the highest it will be for at least every single team at one time. The one thing I did see on baseball is the White Sox owner said, or GM said, there will be some growing pains this year, but we'll win more games than we did last year. I freaking hope so. You guys had like 120 losses.
Yeah, the bar is pretty low. So I would really, I think,
I would hope you win more games than last year. Like they set the record for most losses in the modern era.
yeah, the fact he had to come out and say that speaks enough to where that team is at this. I'm surprised they even send their players to spring training and don't try to save that
Yeah.
money elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest guy they still have is Luis Robert Jr. We'll probably see him dealt this year. I mean, I think their biggest thing is rebuild, 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 trade whatever you have left, gather young talent, gather a farm system, and really, try and turn it around. But, you're not doing anything. Hopefully Luis Robert maybe has a really hot April, May, June, and you get rid of him, or a hot April, May, and you get something back for him. I mean, that's what you're banking on from this guy. There's no real reason to trade him now, but if you can get a hot start out of him, get his value up a little bit, and maybe cash in on some good young prospects,
Yeah,
would be what I would try to do as a GM right now. That's what I would be thinking of doing.
he sounds like a perfect Astro. Just mid-season acquisition.
Well, you got to think of like if he starts out to his regular like hitting home runs, stealing bases, hitting doubles, batting above 280, they could get a pretty decent prospect haul for him.
Yeah, and I guess you could say the weight of the organization is kind of on his right shoulder in that bat because they're gonna need some. I don't know exactly where their farm system ranks, but I don't think it's top five. It might not even be top 10. And that's really bad for a team that, like you said, just passed the 1962 Mets for the worst record of all time.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't want this to turn into a White Sox segment, but I thought it was pretty nuts that the owner's saying they'll have some growing pains. Well, no, or the GM. It's like, well, no shit. I hope you guys don't set a new record for most losses.
Yeah,
But
I'm
like,
just
how could you even be a fan of a team like that? Like, or how can like how is that even like acceptable? How can like I don't know if I'm the MLB, I have to step in and do something. I can't let I guess it's not a huge fan base, but all of those White Sox fans like just suffer through another devastating season. Like your GM comes out and says, "Hey guys, I know we just set the record for being like the worst team ever, but it's going to be another really bad year." Like who wants to invest in anything for for the entire upcoming season now?
yeah, they don't I think it's the same ownership group that owns the Bulls, and they clearly don't really care that much about winning. But to their I don't know if credit's the right word, maybe an excuse for them. The White Sox made the playoffs in 2020 with a really young, talented core. And out of nowhere, almost every single player in that young, talented core just decided to flame off the face of the earth. So they put together a good team, and almost every single thing that could have gone poorly went poorly. So I think they're still trying to recover from that.
Tim Anderson, I think, wasn't he like led the league in average, batting champ, whatever, an all-star in 2022? That guy can barely get an invite to spring training right now.
Yeah, you just forgot how to hit.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
I gotta find
So yeah, I know it's turned into, you said impromptu baseball segment turned into shit on the White Sox, but I mean, it needs to be said, dude. Like, what is going on with that organization? Is there another pro organization in a cross sport that we can compare the White Sox to? I wouldn't know what their NFL comparison would be. Definitely not NHL because the NHL is usually somewhat relatively competitive.
Like the
NBA,
Browns?
maybe the
no,
Browns isn't
I
that
think it's
bad.
worse.
Probably worse. Yeah, I found the passing tweet. So this was in 2020. Said the White Sox control throughout the following years. Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Dylan Cease, Tim Anderson, Michael Kopech, Luis Giolito, Juan Macada, Yasmani Grandal, and Dallas Keuchel. Said, if everything falls right, this has a chance to be a sustained run for the White Sox. Of course, this is baseball, so not everything is going right. But the White Sox have put themselves in a very strong position in not just 2020, but well beyond. Everything went wrong.
Everything went wrong. I mean, they have none of those pieces left. They just set the record for the worst team since 1962, as you explained, and it doesn't look like it's going to get. It probably is going to get a lot worse before it gets any better.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on this NFL comparison.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
no
know.
one could be closer than the Browns. The Browns had the worst record. They had 1 year they made it to the playoffs, lost first round, I believe, with Baker. Like they've done nothing.
I think that's the best one. Yeah, we're gonna get.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
you could do like the Wizards of the NBA too.
Well, because
yeah,
they also
yeah,
have
I like the Wizards a lot actually.
because the Browns also have like zero of their pieces anymore. Like you look at Baker across the other side of the league, Miles Garrett wants out.
Yeah.
Uh, I really can't tell you another Brown that's worth his salt.
Was Landry on that
What?
playoff team? It was
Jarvis
Landry and
Landry.
Odell, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but like they're neither of them are relevant anymore.
Not at all. Well, if you're watching, let us know in the comments below who the other pro sport team equivalent is to the Chicago White Sox. Pretty hard to think of one. That's how bad this franchise is. But good winner there, Brian. Jack, do you have a winner of the week for us?
No, I do not. I have two losers for you guys. It's a
Yeah.
double loser week.
All right. Well, I'll give my winner, and then we'll just get into the losers. Is that fair?
Let's do it.
I didn't know you were dropping the double loser on us again, but it's pretty simple, man. I don't know how the Eagles winning the Super Bowl can't be my loser or winner of the week.
Ugh,
If the Jags won the Super Bowl or the Giants won the Super Bowl, would that not be your guys' winner of the week?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Fair enough.
probably. Yeah.
It's pretty easy. Brian huffs and puffs about it, but the Eagles won the frickin' Super Bowl. The city of Philadelphia, the Eagles in general, everything about that is my winner of the week. And we have a big celebration on Friday to celebrate this team. 1.5 million people expected at the parade in Philadelphia. That's a lot of frickin' people.
You see AJ Brown's Instagram post?
Yeah, man, he wants more.
Thought that was interesting.
I did not see AJ Brown's Instagram post. What did AJ Brown say on his Instagram?
Basically, the championship or the Super Bowl didn't feel as good as it should have because he didn't dominate the cornerbacks during the playoffs.
That's how somebody who's looking to write.
That's what he said.
He just, he likes to dominate. And like he still scored in the Super Bowl. Like regardless of him like you still scored a touchdown, a meaningful touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything wrong with what he said, but he's basically saying he doesn't feel like he
Contributed to the win.
contributed enough to earn it. And I guess that's what you want to hear, but you can also take that as he wanted to
I
get the
mean,
ball.
but that's kind of like what happens when you just have like the best roster. Like everybody on that team contributed like a little bit, and that was that's what they needed. Like
And the other thing,
nobody had to be Superman. You know what I mean?
this is why it's a hater mindset from Brian because he conveniently left out at the end of the post in all caps. He said back to work.
Yeah, that's still he's talking about the post is about him wanting to be better and
Right, he's not
doing
asking
enough.
out of Philadelphia. He's not demanding
that's
a
not what
trade
I'm
to
saying.
dominate.
I'm just saying it's I think it's a little interesting to say you don't feel like you did enough after winning the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, this is AJ Brown. This is a guy who, like, no offense to anybody here, but it's always been about him, right? Obviously, he wants the team to win. He wants a Super Bowl. That's important. But this is a lot like what Devontae Adams had to say. Devontae Adams, when he was with the Raiders, they won a game where he didn't really do much. And he was like, yeah, I'm happy we're finally winning games, but like, I didn't do anything and I want to contribute because I feel like if I can get 10 targets or 10 catches, whatever he said, like we'll win by 40 or whatever. But the whole point is he wants to be contributing. He wants it to be about him.
He wants to dominate.
But unfortunately, if you want it to be all about you, then that probably means you don't have a great team around you, and you're not going to win. You have to make sacrifices to win Super Bowls. I mean, that's
Maybe
we've seen it time and time again.
He's alluding to demand a trade to the Patriots.
I'm not sure if I
That's
tracked that one.
that's that's the team he supported growing up.
Is it?
And there's been some news stories out there about him reuniting with Vrabel, and he was a fan of the Patriots when he was younger.
Are you
Is he
getting
gonna?
worried?
Him and
Not
Drake
at
May
all.
could be fun.
Not at all. But I mean, if he wants to be the guy, but that's the thing. It's like he'll be the guy there, but is he gonna dominate?
I mean, he's good enough to dominate. Like I think he's like a
That team
top.
still has a really bad offensive line, like really bad offensive line.
Oh, they're a bad team. I mean, they're picking fourth overall for a reason. They're a bad
Right.
team. But I mean, you if you can attract talent like AJ Brown, you might be able to put a couple other pieces around Drake May. I mean, Drake May is definitely an attractive quarterback. So see what happens. Vrabel is a very well liked coach. So Brian, don't look at me like that. Attractive in the sense of if I'm wide receiver
You have to
looking
be
for
very specific when you
yeah.
speak on this show, clearly.
Brian trying to
And
hold me on
I've
some
been victim
pause
of
right
it.
now.
You're now victim of it.
There's other words you could have used. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we always talk about like what's the most attractive, job or location or landing spot, right? That's what I'm going for here.
Yeah,
I think,
I understood what you said. I just thought it was a funny
yeah. Thanks,
use of
Brian.
word.
Fair
Uh,
enough.
there
Jack,
are worse places than New England.
there definitely are. And not to turn this into a where's AJ Brown going, as he's already locked up to the Eagles till 2029. Why don't you give us at least one of your losers? You'll hit a loser, we'll go around the horn, and then you can end it with your other loser since you're Mr. Double Loser this week.
Yeah, well, Matt, I had to find something, to bring Philly down this week just because I can't let them get too high on their horse. I know you'll understand. So I'm just going to rope back in the Philadelphia 76ers real quick.
No
Just giving you
worries.
guys an update on how they're doing over in the Eastern Conference. They're
Don't need it.
currently sitting outside of the playoff picture, even though they, traded for Paul George in this offseason. I really thought they were going to be a playoff team. They're 20 and 33. They're 23 games back. They're 10 and 17 at home. So Philadelphia fans are really enjoying those home games. And
I mean, nobody
they're
goes.
they're below that playoff line with the likes of the Brooklyn Nets, the Raptors, the Hornets, and the Wizards. So, Matt, thank you for letting me get off my little diss to Philly real quick. But you guys are riding high in your Super Bowl, so you won't really care.
Yeah, a Brooklyn Net team that they are currently down by 9-2 with a minute to go in the first half. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's tough to be a Sixer fan. I've been crystal clear about this for weeks, almost months now. They're a bad, like, Nick Nurse is not a good head coach. The glue guys of Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid aren't gluing together. They have no bench depth. Their best draft pick since Maxey is out for the entire year. It's a bad basketball team. I'm over it. I don't care anymore.
Jack, I'm happy you brought up Paul George because it reminded me of this tweet I saw the other day. Guy said Paul George's name is PG-13 because you need parental guidance to see this much ass on TV.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. I would have traded him at the deadline. I mean, he hasn't contributed anything. I mean, what team's gonna, take on that contract?
yeah.
I think the Sixers.
I mean, it's a dumpster fire, dude. It's literally a dumpster fire. I don't care. I mean, they're the fourth team on my Philly 4 for 4 for a reason. And I've been out during the actual trust the process. I had more fun when they stunk and were trying to lose games with Tony Roten leading the charge than I have, maybe since that Raptors season when they lost to the Raptors and they got Jimmy Butler. But I mean, I've been very transparent. I'm sure if I got delusional when it comes playoff time, of course. Who doesn't when their team's in the playoff? But I've been pretty clear and transparent about they're never going to win. The Sixers are the Jets of the NFL.
Maybe that's who we should be comparing them to.
Yeah, except the Sixers, have had consistency making the playoffs, just no success in them. But yeah, enough of that. Brian, your loser of the week.
I thought about saving this for Michael, but I really wanted to talk about it because it just happened again. So I'm gonna frame it as my loser is common sense. A couple weeks ago, this guy Jacob Pickle tweeted, "Wow, the best conference in the history of college basketball is 54 and 54 since January 4th. ESPN once again showing their SEC bias for teams that can't even go above 500." Obviously a joke because every conference goes 500 in conference play. Rhode Island coach Archie Miller quoted that tweet in one of his press conferences by trying to say it's hard to win in college basketball. Even the best teams in the country are only 500 since January 4th. And then last night in the Alabama-Texas game, Carl Ravitch says a quote, and he says, "The SEC is a super competitive league. The teams are 82 and 82 in conference play." How does this keep happening?
It's a lack of research, a lack of
Dude, it's like a lack of understanding.
You have to do research.
Like, how do you not? You just have to know that the conference schedule is. People are idiots. Like, I can't even explain it. It's too simple.
You just play in your conference. So there's
Well,
one
that's-
winner, one loser.
yeah, it's careless attention to detail.
They just, the producers see a tweet and they're like, "Oh, this is interesting. I don't know this is a joke."
And we know the people regurgitating that information on ESPN, people are writing shit for him, right? So can we really blame Carl Ravitch or whoever it was? Like, he's just getting notes and reading them. You think he's looking into it at all? No, he's a robot.
Yeah, honestly, if I was handed a piece of paper saying, like, the SEC is 40 and 40 since, December 18th or whatever day conference play starts, right? I would be sitting there like, that's wild. How is this possible? And then I would actually look up the date that conference play starts and realize that whoever sent me this is an idiot.
It's so funny.
I mean, those guys, their job is tonality and delivery on air. So I think they just like rely on these morons who are giving them the facts and information and paperwork to not be morons. And it looks as if they've failed.
Yeah, while we're shitting on ESPN, there was also an Auburn game earlier in the year where Miles Kelly got a double-double, and there was a graphic that said Miles Kelly's first double-double of career. It was his fifth double-double of his career. It was his first one as an Auburn Tiger, but he had 4 of them with Georgia Tech and his teams before that. They immediately took it down. It's like, how does this stuff happen?
It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. But I will roll in here with my loser of the week. And it still is pertaining to the Super Bowl, but it's really just, and I didn't obviously watch every single one in depth, but every company that had a Super Bowl commercial this year, I thought the ads sucked. And I think it's an ongoing trend of the commercials getting worse and worse year after year. But this year I thought was horrible. So every company that had a shot and bought a slot to have a commercial in front of the record-breaking 127 million people that watch the Super Bowl, they'll be my loser of the week because I did not enjoy the Super Bowl ads. And as much as my team was in it, I still, the ads are the ads. That's why some people watching didn't enjoy them this year. I don't know what you guys thought.
Yeah, I think they've been going downhill for a while. There was some I liked. I liked the Doritos UFO one. Ben Affleck did a good job with the Dunkin' Donuts one. And then I think the Pizza Rolls one was funny enough just because of Tim Robinson. But besides those 3, I can't tell you any others that stuck out. It's like, oh, those are good ads.
I was not a fan this year. Jack, your takeaway? Were you watching ads?
Yeah, I'm a marketer in my spare time. But so I'm pretty invested on the ads every year when it comes to Super Bowl. I would say that they weren't great. There are reasons, obviously, reasons why they weren't great. I'll say the number one reason for me that I think most people will maybe agree with: too many celebrity endorsements. Like, every single commercial is this athlete or this actor, this actress. It's like, Just, every time every single ad has a celebrity. Like I don't care. I don't know. You guys feel differently about
Yeah,
having
it's like a
celebrities?
lack of creativity and just paying for some A-list guy to promote your brand instead of, having some like just like being clever or being unique or like I said, being creative. It's like, oh, we'll just use all this money to pay some A-list person to come on, and that's the reason why our ad will be our ad. And
Yeah,
it definitely sucked.
maybe that's why I like the. I think there's a second year Dunkin' Donuts has had like Affleck's and I think they had J-Lo in it last year, but at least like they're Boston guys and Dunkin' Donuts is the Boston, so the connection makes sense. And then the rest of them, they just like you said, it's just a random
Yeah.
celebrity. Also, the Lilo and Stitch live action looked great. That was a good one.
Yes, I was after Matt mentioned, the lack of creativity. I was gonna say that's the one that stands out to me where like and it was early on, but no celebrities, just like it looked like part of the football field, like, wait, what's going on here? It brings you in because you're like, is football starting back up right now? It tied in the what they were actually selling, like the movie, with what was going on really well. Yeah, it was phenomenal.
They did the Marshawn
Yeah.
Lynch on the golf cart.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, obviously there's always going to be a few that stick out there, like, huh, that's not the end of the world. But I think for the most part, they're pretty shitty.
Yes.
It's just kind of just a shitty Super Bowl. I mean,
For
obviously not for
you.
you, but for
Not for
the average
Matt.
watcher. The game sucked.
Yeah.
The commercials sucked. I mean, I like the message of the halftime show, and I liked they played not like us, but he didn't play his hits, so you
Yeah.
could say it
It's
sucked. I thought it was fine.
yeah.
Oh,
I
the halftime show sucked.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I just think in general with the halftime, and not to drag this on, but you know, maybe let's not have rappers do the halftime show. Like they record their
Yeah,
songs in a recording studio, and that's why we like them. And then when they try and do it live for a halftime show, especially Kendrick, like I don't know, it doesn't flow good. Like stick to the bands, man. Get Creed back out there.
Well, yeah, I think there's two big things when it comes to rappers. One, it's like how they have to not say every other word or like bleep it out because half of them are curses.
Yeah,
It just makes the whole production sound like
horrible.
awful. And then the other thing is, I can't name you a single rapper who has the kind of cat. I can name you one, two rappers. I can name you two rappers who have the catalog to actually play a Super Bowl performance and like people will actually know multiple of their songs. Like I think that was the problem with Kendrick. I didn't I mean me personally, I knew most of them, but most people listening to that show do not know Kendrick's catalog.
yeah. I agree with you on the second part. I think there's more than two. I think
I'm actually I don't know if there are two.
you can throw Kanye out there, you can throw Drake out there, you can probably throw Lil Wayne out there. You could throw Jay-Z out there. I think those four you at least Eminem. I think you have five.
I don't know if any okay, I don't know if any of those five, truthfully, would reach the millions, hundreds of millions of people tuning in.
Well, reach is one thing, but I think most people would know. There might be like one or two songs that aren't aware of. But I mean, it's if you really want to, you can play like seven songs, and I think they all have seven very recognizable songs.
I think I'm sticking with Matt here. I don't think that rappers have the best performances. I don't see them ever really
No,
shining
yeah,
at
definitely
Super
not.
Bowl halftime.
The,
Yeah, and
the yeah, the best part of Kendrick's performance was he was telling a story and then the choreography. I mean, his rapping wasn't up. I mean, he's a great rapper, but the mics always suck for the rappers, so you can't hear him. And
right.
then, yeah, like you said, he played all of his new stuff.
It was just whatever. But Jack, do you want to wrap this segment up here with your second loser?
I do. So for anybody that is an avid sports fan like us, you've definitely heard of Bleacher Report before. They updated their app soon after the Super Bowl, and it is horrible. It's horrible. It takes forever to load. The interface is not friendly anymore. It used to just be so simple, and they had to go and change everything. They had to ruin a good thing. You guys use Bleacher Report?
That's my
I
main app.
do. Yeah, I mean, I definitely use it. I don't think I've been on it since the change, so maybe I don't use it as much as I said, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to dig in and see what all the huff and puff is about.
Yeah, I forget where I heard this, but it was about the score bug for the Super Bowl, which I thought was fine.
I thought
I
the
didn't.
score bug was fine. People had a lot big issue with it. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of thing with this. It's like, why, if you're a big company like this, just hire a focus group of huge fans of sports that use your product or watch your product. Show them what it's going to look like, and they're probably going to tell you this is horrible. Don't do this, and then you're fine. Like, what I don't understand the continued innovation the wrong direction, and that's what Bleacher Report did here. That's the simplest app. It loaded up really quickly. You hit scores, and it was just bare bones simple, and that's what I liked about it. And now you got to hit like 5 extra buttons to get to a sport, and then it doesn't load. I just need the box score. That's all I need.
I feel like that's everything in life now is like they come out with the simplicity of something and everybody gets involved and attached and then they overcomplicate it with updates like weekly or yearly or whatever it was. And it's the same thing as like the hot video game that comes out and everybody's on it. And then they update it and update it and update it. And then it becomes horrible because everybody's like, well, they updated the shit out of it. Keep things simple. Keep things to what, when you keep it simple, more people can use it and understand it. And the more complex you make things, the less you're going to get with that bigger crowd. So I think we see that a lot with everything in life. You can apply what you just said.
And MLB has done a lot wrong, specifically in the marketing and all that stuff. But at least with their app, when they updated it, I can still use the classic, and I've had it the same way for however many years. And I'll give MLB credit for that because every time a company does this, it annoys the shit out of me, and I hate it.
I was just gonna say, dude, it's the constant updates. Just switch it to a 2.0. If you want the new version, go test it out. Sure, you can always go back to one. Like, I mean, that's just the best way to do it.
Well, that's the problem is because nobody will switch, and then whoever created the 2.0 will get fired.
Some people are looking for
Maybe.
those updates. I mean,
For sure.
yeah, right. We don't need to talk about this.
Yeah, we spent like 10 minutes just sounding like old men yelling at a cloud, which we need to do sometimes.
We definitely did. That's the winners and losers of the week. Double loser by Jack, Brian, and I crank out a couple of winners. Eagles win the Super Bowl. You don't need to be reminded. Winners of the week. We'll be back next week. Mike of the week, this Sunday show. So Monday, you guys will get that segment fresh back on the show. I want to throw it over to our NBA news correspondent, Mr. Brian there. I guess we should start talking about the NBA. It's going to get close to playoff season. Brian, how can you catch us up to speed?
Well, we're at the All-Star break after, I guess when this gets released, it's the All-Star break. I had no idea it would be the All-Star break, but Matt McClung is going to be the dunk contest again, along with a bunch of role players. And the standings, they're shaking out as we would have expected, but there are some surprises. So the Cavaliers are in first place in the East. That was unexpected. Celtics right behind them at 2. Jack, I believe you picked the Knicks to win the NBA Finals in our roundtable or get there. Can't remember which one.
The win.
They're at 3. Then you have Pacers, Bucks, Pistons, Matt, who you have to make the playoffs at a very good odds. And then
Plus
the Heat,
1160.
the Heat and the Hawks at 7 and 8. And what does it go to 10 with the play-in now?
Yes, all the way down to 10. The
So
Sixers are a game and a half out.
Yeah, they're right
Out
there. They're behind the
of
Bulls.
the play-in.
They're behind the Magic and the Bulls. So yeah, the Sixers are still alive. On the Western Conference side, the OKC Thunder, we were a year too early. They're 43-9. And I think they're the favorite to win it all, according to the books. The Grizzlies are in second. I had no idea the Grizzlies were this good, but John Morant is not flashing guns on Instagram, and now they're good at basketball. Nuggets at 3, Lakers at 4 with Luka. I'm sure they'll be heavily bet on. Rockets at 5, Clippers at 6, Clippers have a new logo. Forgot about that. Timberwolves at 7, Mavs at 8, and then Kings and Warriors rounding it out. The Suns are
Yeah, and
not in the playoffs.
interesting there with the Grizzlies. They actually, I don't know what it looks like in the East. Probably the Western Conference, I feel like, is always more notorious for high scoring. I don't know why. But the Grizzlies lead the Western Conference with 123 and a half points per game. The team coming in second is the Nuggets at 121.3. So the Grizzlies are possibly this year's OKC Thunder. Like, remember, we saw OKC last year coming to nowhere. The Grizzlies, really firing in all cylinders. 7.5 out from the Thunder, but again, leading the conference in points per game.
Yeah, I'll root for the Grizzlies. The NBA is in such a weird spot right now. I want to see the Thunder. I think I picked SGA to win the MVP in our roundtable, so I'm rooting for the Thunder.
Yeah, and they do have the team to do it, and I think they just got Chet Holmgren back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he came back a couple weeks ago, I think, but he's been working his way.
Couple. I thought he got just recently got back. No.
It was a couple games ago.
Who did the Thunder get bounced by last year? Was it Ant Edwards?
No, it was the Mavs.
Yeah, I think they.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the finals were Mavs Wolves to go to, or like the Western Conference Finals, right? Was Mavs Wolves?
I think the Wolves beat the Lakers.
The Nuggets.
The Nuggets.
Yeah, that's what it was.
The Thunder
and then
beat
we
the
were
Lakers.
Like, I don't know, but I think the Western Conference Finals was Mavericks, Timberwolves.
It was, yeah.
Because people were like, oh my gosh, Ant Edwards is him. Timberwolves can't be stopped. Which, by the way, I think Ant Edwards is on a streak of 3 straight games of 41 plus points at this current moment. So he definitely is.
Remember we talked about my parlay where he needed to get the 27.4? He's over 27.4 points per game now.
Holy shit.
He heard us, and he is on a tear. I want to have some fun with this, not to drag it on. You can't pick anyone in the first current 1, 2, 3 seed of each Western or Eastern Conference who's a sleeper team from each conference to make, maybe they're not a sleeper, but a team to make the NBA Finals. I'll start Eastern Conference. I'll take the Bucks. Western Conference, it's easy to pick the Lakers. I'll leave them on the table for somebody else. I'll take the Rockets.
Yeah, I really like the Rockets too. East, I'll go Magic now that Paolo's back. West, let's go Timberwolves. Steal them from Jack.
I didn't want them. I mean, my two. I'm pretty pissed you made the cutoff that 3 seed, Matt, because the 2 teams I think that will be in the finals are both the 3 seed in the East and the West. The Knicks and 70s. Excuse me. You wish.
Yeah.
The Nuggets.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of this exercise is to have a little fun with it.
But if you're gonna make me pick outside of those from the West, I'm actually gonna dip all the way down and bring up the Golden State Warriors for the second year in a row. They're going to be my sleeper team. So I'll take the Warriors out of the West. And then in the East, I like the way that the Pistons are playing basketball right now. But I can't trust them to go all the way to a finals this year. I would have to say my favorite is the Bucks. But give me Trae Young and the Hawks, baby. Give me Trae. Ice cold.
Yeah, I don't see that, but I like where your head's at and picking the long shot there. That is some good stuff. Brian, any other NBA updates here?
No.
I appreciate your bluntness. That's kind of the show. The only other thing I had, as you all know, I bridge the gap from sport to sport here up in section 400, and now as the slower time of the year, which is one of my favorite times of the year, we do have the Daytona 500 this weekend, which is NASCAR's biggest event, the only sport that hosts their biggest event as the first event of the year. I'll give you 3 long shots. $10 wins you a shit ton of money if you place $30, $10 on each potential big payout. Three long shots here. Michael McDowell plus 3,700, $10 wins you 370. He's won the 500 before. Justin Haley plus 6,500 races really well at the 500 in a new car this year, a better car than what he used to be. And so races really well at super speedways and now is in a better ride. Plus 6,500, 10 wins you 650. And then I will end it with Chandler Smith, super young, rookie, very effective driver at these super speedways, but again, just really, really young. So reason why he's a long shot plus 8,500, 10 to win 850. So those are my three Daytona 500 long shots. If you're wondering, why are you throwing out long shots? It's because the Daytona 500 is the only race, or really super speedways. So there's about 3-4 races per year where kind of anybody in the field can win the race. So if you're going to bet a long shot in NASCAR all year, the super speedways are the time to do it. Justin Haley, Michael McDowell, Chandler Smith, I'll be picking to win the 500 this year.
Kevin Harvick still racing?
He retired.
Well, won't be taking
Your guy
him
Denny Hamlin, though. Hamlin has won the 500 a shit ton of times, and I believe he's up towards the favorites, which, again, if you're the favorite at the 500, you're like plus 900 or plus 1,000.
Where's Bubba Wallace at?
Not sure. Another guy races well at the speedways, though.
I'll take him.
They're super speedways. Jack, you want to throw it out there, or you probably couldn't even name three drivers other than the three I just gave?
That are still driving? No, my NASCAR knowledge. I used to be a fan, back in the Dale days, but
oh yeah, yeah, that's some good stuff there. Well, yeah, good luck. Let us know if you're taking any long shots. This is the race to do it. But that's all I got for this one. Matt, Jack, and Brian. As always, it's Views from Section 400. I'm signing out. I'll see you guys at the parade.
You are now in the mix with DJ Savage.
For the love of God, beat him.
Jamie Johnson. Take Jamie Johnson in the 500.
Jeez, how far behind are you? Okay, there you go.
They're back, baby. They're back. Let's fucking go.
That was
the
an
fuck out of here, Petito.
Interesting play.